The year is 2028, and the global corporation Omnicorp has been recruiting for the military for years. Through the use of scanners, their highly advanced drones maintain security throughout the world that instantly determine whether a person poses a threat or not. Despite opposition from the public, TV personality Novak wants these robots to replace the police in American cities. Are wary of technology, and the government opposes having ineffective law enforcement. Feel. Novak has invited a military official to his show to provide details in order to support his argument of how every action is carried out. Additionally, he dispatched a reporter to the Middle East who will document the robot's efforts. Live television. The journalist travels the city documenting how the robots don't harm anyone who isn't, calling it a success for safety measures while posing a threat. The people, however, are obviously not pleased that robots have taken over their house. Therefore, a squad of rebels creeps around with powerful weapons and attacks the robots head-on. Attack. Buildings start to blow up as the robots engage in a brutal combat in the streets, on the ground, as well as the airborne drones that fire whenever they spot an aggressor. In order to knock the robots down, many of these rebels also climb on them from rooftops. The robots discover a young child with a knife who is running away as the entire region starts to erupt in his palm, attempting only to defend himself. However, the scanner perceives even a knife as a danger, and the robot kills the boy. Novak refuses to be swayed by this and informs his audience of what the robot did was beneficial and merely a component of securing the city. Detective Alex visits his supervisor at the police station in the meantime, and the boss requests a justification for the alleged act his obnoxious co-workers are accusing him of. Alex explains everything to her. The day before, he and his best friend had a meeting with some for an undercover operation, criminals. They deceived a dealer into showing them some illicit firearms, and then they immediately apprehended him. But the guns they seized were gone when Alex later went to check the evidence locker. And no one signed the paperwork, necessitating the use of a corrupt cop to remove them. The gang boss was later met at a restaurant by Alex and his partner after they went undercover once more. However, they were stopped when the leader received a call informing him that Alex was a police officer. The leader fled the premises right away and dispatched his men to assassinate the police, beginning a there is a shooting everywhere. Although they were significantly outnumbered, the two policemen fired back swiftly, and when they spotted, they attempted to flee through the rear alley through an entrance. Sadly, Alex's best friend was shot while he was making his way outside without incident. Alex's employer chastises him for leaving without support after hearing the tale and says she'll be in charge of finding the dishonest officer. The CEO of Omnicorp, Sellers, is attempting to persuade the government in Washington, D.C., that robot police are a fantastic concept, but the senators have rejected him before. Sellers meets with his staff to discuss ideas later at Omnicorp's headquarters on how they can get people to accept robots in public places. He concludes that since the senators continually bringing up the fact that robots are emotionless, they must combine a real human with a machine. Dr. Norton is assisting his most recent patient adjust to his new life at a specialized facility while fresh limbs. Considering that Norton specializes in robotic prostheses that respond to your emotions, to play the guitar, the patient must learn to focus on his mechanical hands. Sellers interrupts the session to speak with Norton privately and persuade him create a combination of a human and machine. To explore their alternatives, Norton meets with Sellers' team. However, every retired, having suffered from their injuries for too long, police officers are now too emotionally damaged to go back to work, thus they need to find a case that is more recent. Alex's nasty employees expose themselves to be dishonest cops in another area of the city, and they inform the gang boss that the cops are looking for him. They'll need to take action regarding Alex if they want to end this probe. Later, a criminal places a bomb beneath Alex's car as he is visiting his best friend in the hospital. His vehicle. Alex returns home in the evening to spend time with his son David and his wife, Clara. Alex hears his car's alarm go off as they are going to become busy and leaves to confirm. He approaches the car and as he gets close, the car explodes, severely hurting him. Clara is invited to visit Omnicorp's offices when they learn about this, and they present her with an offer. They'll provide Alex with a brand new mechanical body so he can continue to live. Clara is apprehensive, but they go on to recount in gruesome detail all of Alex's wounds. Pointed stated that Alex would soon pass away if Clara didn't make her decision right away. Clara cannot refuse, she must accept. Alex is joyfully seen dancing with his wife at a house party 3 months later, but suddenly the image begins to disintegrate. The researchers display Alex's new shape, which has 90% mechanical components, but his since brain is still a living being, he is carefully going over his memories. Alex is bewildered and upset when they eventually wake him up, so Norton swiftly reminds him what and accompanies him as he takes his first steps. Alex freaks out when he hears the word amputee since the body feels strange. Out, requesting that the costume be taken off. Alex forcefully pushes Norton away when he tries to calm him down before leaving the room, pushing everyone who attempts to stop him as the structure. His running pace is incredible, and when he hits the building's perimeter wall, he may easily clear it by jumping over it. Norton finally chooses to remotely terminate him when he restarts, though. Later, Alex awakens at the lab once more, and Norton takes out the major components of a robotic body to demonstrate to Alex that just a few of his organic parts remain. There is no escaping this. Alex believes death is preferable to a machine, despite Norton's assertion that it was the only way to save him, and requests that the doctor cut the cord. Clara requested the treatment, and Norton changes his mind after hearing from his family. He should do something for her since she is waiting for him. Norton allows Alex to phone Clara to demonstrate this, but Alex just gives her a brief glimpse of his face. Now, he is still quite attractive in Clara's eyes, and she is eager to see him again. Since Alex agreed to help, he spends the night at the lab, where his body is being studied. Performs maintenance. He is escorted to train the following day with Rick, the military personnel in charge of managing field robotic armies of Omnicorp. He views it as a waste of time and resources because he believes the machines are already perfect. Notwithstanding his unwillingness to use a human in the endeavor, he nonetheless gives Alex weaponry, which may store items on his unique leg compartments. They run a simulation in which Alex and a robot have to kill criminals and protect citizens. And when everyone effortlessly performs the rescues, Rick's predictions come to pass. Alex ultimately takes longer than the machines because they only consider and take action. Alex pauses for a time to consider his options between evaluating and acting. When Alex is by himself later that evening, he uses a computer to monitor what's taking place in the gang leader case. The simulation's results leave Sellers upset the following day, and he fiercely commands Norton to address this issue. Additionally, he believes that Alex needs to appear better on TV for marketing purposes, therefore he requests an improved tactical outfit. Later, in the lab, the physician makes certain changes to Alex's brain by opening up his head. That will lead him to believe he still has free choice while, in reality, it is the acting one. Alex has a thorough makeover as well, his armor is now sleek and black. After that, they take Alex to a deserted structure to conduct a fresh test. Once more, he must fight Rick and a robot army by yourself. Alex scans the scene with his visor and with lightning reflexes determines the situation. The circumstance and takes action, firing without hesitation at each and every robot. When he is being shot at, he is fast to find shelter and hide, which prevents injury. When just Rick is left standing after all the robots have been eliminated one by one, Alex fires a win by slashing through his exoskeleton armor. He never suspects the machine is making the selections because all of his reaction times are flawless. Consequently, the experiment is deemed successful. Later, Norton drives Alex home so he can see his family for the first time. He has to take a moment to gather his courage because he's a little frightened, but as soon as Clara sees, she doesn't think twice about hugging him. David is a little hesitant, but once Alex allows him to touch the interesting mechanical components, David remarks he is glad to see him and that he has recorded several games for them to watch. Alex, regrettably, is unable to remain because he needs to spend the night in the lab performing maintenance. Alex meets his best friend, who is finally healed, when he gets back to the base. He pledges to find those who injured him. A few days later, Sellers is excited to meet Alex in person at a significant public event. Norton starts transmitting all of the criminals and crimes files as of 2011. Additionally, Alex gains access to all of the city's surveillance cameras. The amount of information is too much for a human brain to process, and when Alex views the tape of, he experiences a seizure and faints when his automobile explodes. Norton disagrees that a news conference should be held today, but the Omnicorp team insists Norton to resolve the problem. Norton has no choice but to send everyone away but for his assistant and begins suppressing Alex's feelings, causing him to behave like a truly motionless robot. They can now easily finish downloading the entire database. Alex focuses on his duty when they are at the presentation and ignores his wife and pals, only recognizing strangers or loved ones' faces as criminals or citizens. Once he enters the stage, his scanner starts recognizing each person's face in the audience until he finds 2 steps in front of the police, a criminal. He leaps into the mob right away and, without inflicting any harm on anyone, quickly apprehends the culprit, which leads the populace to begin praising Alex. Novak uses this occurrence on television to argue that robots are superior than humans because the cops were present, adjacent to a thief, and they failed to notice. However, Clara is quite frustrated because neither David nor her are permitted to speak with Alex, preventing him from having any kind of life. Norton reassures her that this is only a side effect of the medication and he'll soon feel better. Alex finally reports back to work at the station the following day and says he'll catch 13 today's crooks. Despite his friend's concerns, he borrows a bike and locates a bunch of dealers to his use of the cameras and the database. The majority of the group flees, but Alex is able to corner a dealer and intimidate him until he reveals the location of his operational headquarters. Later, Alex finds an illegal kitchen and enters the structure while still wearing his. While riding his bike and shooting at every criminal, he was unconcerned by regular bullets passing by. Even when they attempt to grab him from behind, Alex's scan effortlessly brings them to lower them. Results are well received at Omnicorp, and Sellers grants Rick full access to monitor. Just in case, Alex. As the days go by, Alex establishes himself as a hero in the city, combating crime everywhere. Making a huge deal out of it, Novak invites Sellers to explain to the senator during a show that the public in America is gradually shifting its views. The senator simply gets cut off when he tries to object. The gang boss and the dirty cops meet in the meantime to develop a strategy to deal with Alex, who has made their work incredibly difficult. Later, Clara risks rushing through traffic to ask Alex what she wants to know. To express feeling. Given that his son experiences night terrors, she urges him to do something for his family and is in need of his dad. Alex initially appears unfazed, but as he departs, he starts to view this as he is the robotic cop. When he looks through surveillance footage, he finds that David had seen the automobile. After the blast, he was traumatized. Alex's humanity is deeply disturbed when he learns this about his son, and his brain gradually starts to. Norton's procedure of robbing him of his emotions has failed, and he is enraged that his family has suffered as a result of him, and he wants to make things right. Through Alex's tracker, staff members at the lab become aware of this development and contemplate turning him off. However, Norton is interested in what transpires because, in theory, Alex is still investigating a crime. He just so happens to possess it. Alex returns home and recreates the day using the data from all the cameras of the assault and observes his wife and son just before he detonates. He searches for a man who worked with the gang leader using the scan clues he has. His hand was broken while being dragged out of the automobile through the window. The thief gives him the phone number of, and Alex steps on it to make him hurt even more. The driver of the group. He determines the precise position of the gang's location by triangulating the signal of his last call. Base. Police at the station learn that Alex is out there investigating crimes as he travels there. The gang boss quickly learns that Alex is following him after he confesses to doing his own crime. The crooks are prepared to greet Alex in the facility by the time he arrives there. Dark with heavy weapons and night vision goggles. A shootout starts when Alex breaks in on his bike and turns on his night vision. Alex has no trouble, no matter how many criminals there are or how many shots they fire, shooting everyone who gets in his path as he moves through the base until no one is left alive. However, this time he does sustain some harm as a result. Alex then restarts the power and collects samples of each fingerprint on the device. Weaponry finally exposing which police officers are dishonest. Alex hurries to the police station to question the men and play evidence on every computer. When one of the dishonest police officers tries to confront Alex, he shoots him right away in self-defense. The second man, who is terrified, admits that their boss was the one who organized everything. Alex still shoots him. Then Alex approaches her boss and demands an admission, but Rick arrives at that point. Silences him. Rick phones Sellers to let him know they can utilize this, and shortly after, Novak all but forgets the incident over his program, demonstrating that because they cannot be purchased, robots are superior to people. The following day, the government begins to approve the use of robots by the neighborhood police. Clara, however, cuts off the broadcast when she eventually visits the news and announces no one from Omnicorp will allow her to see her spouse, and she hasn't been allowed to see anyone else. Return her calls. Sellers is concerned that Clara's engagement will restore Alex's humanity, and they'll be unable to manage him, costing them the law. Alex's retirement will make their research appear unsuccessful, thus instead, to make Alex a tragic hero that people would remember lovingly, they intend to kill him. When an enraged Norton refuses, Sellers contacts him to demand that he do it. By promising to sponsor his laboratory for 5 years, Sellers wins him over. Norton ultimately agrees, but only if Sellers also pays Alex's family. Sellers then instructs Rick to prepare his robots. Sellers meets with Clara and David and makes decisions while the measure is being adopted by the senators. They believe Alex has passed away. When Norton gets at the lab, he discovers the troops have already arrived and are requesting to see Alex. He then flees as they begin to shoot at him. Alex is reached first by Norton, who presses a button that causes Sellers to believe he is dead. Alex nevertheless awakens. Norton apparently removed his transmitter, making it impossible for anybody to access his vital signs, and they can never again turn off Alex. Alex quickly kills both men, and Norton then explains the entire scheme to him. Believes he must murder Sellers and disregards Norton's attempts to dissuade him. Rick observes him from his car as he rides through the city on his bike and alerts Sellers, who was going to broadcast Alex's passing. He, Clara, and David are taken to the roof by his guards where they wait for a rescue chopper. In the meantime, Norton approaches the police and requests assistance in locating Alex's best buddy. Alex sees Rick's robots surrounding Omnicorp headquarters when she goes there at that time, and a number of guards. To force the others to submit, Alex quickly takes out a guard before breaking into the structure on his bike and engages the other robots in combat with guns. The robots are significantly more equipped with weapons and armor than typical criminals, thus Alex struggles to defeat them. He keeps taking heavy gunshot wounds, and when he attempts to halt a robot by jumping on it, he is merely thrown away and becomes entangled in some trash. With a few shots, Alex frees himself, but sprinting away while carrying an injured leg is difficult. As a result of his slowness, the robots start shooting at him from behind. When a police vehicle enters the building at that precise moment, Alex's best friend enters. The robots that were shooting at him stopped because the police were protected by the system. Alex now has the opportunity to flee down a back hallway further inside the structure. Rick has been labeled as non-threatening by the system, so Alex finds him and tries to shoot him, and is not going to let Alex hurt him. Rick enjoys his shooting. Alex fires off some warning bullets before opening fire. When Alex's best friend arrives, he kills Rick first to seal the deal. Alex runs to check on his pal after Rick shoots him before passing away. Fortunately, they merely need to wait for the paramedics because the wound is not fatal. Alex then climbs to the roof, and the helicopter notices him but does not take him up. The team. Because Alex is designed to be non-threatening, Sellers is convinced that he cannot be attacked by him. Sellers threatens to kill Clara and David after observing Alex defying his programming. Merely in case. The situation is worsened by Alex's ability to put his family before everything else. Program for good and fires, killing Sellers as the other man returns fire. His family hurries to see if Alex is okay after he collapses, but he tells them that he is fine. Later, Norton hands the prototype body back to Alex and warns him that he is permitted to see his loved ones. Reporters on television, meantime, indicate that the administration is more certain now that robots shouldn't be. But after Norton agrees to testify, the law is annulled and they are let on the streets and confess that whatever he did was wrong. As he yells in front of the camera, Novak, who is incensed, reminds the audience that the USA remains the world's best nation.